It is an absolute honor. Anytime I get the opportunity to be on here, up here on stage in front of you guys, and man, anytime I get this opportunity, I love showing honor to Pastor Kenneth because he seriously does deserve, because of the leader that he is, because of the man of God that he is. So, man, if you love and appreciate Pastor Kenneth and Sherry, can we just show them some love this morning? Give it up for them. Come on. They are on vacation this week, enjoying some time with family, some time in rest down in the beautiful Carolinas, enjoying the sun down there. So they are having a good old time. But man, also I wanted to share with you guys, talk to you a little bit about United Students and just what's been going on. I don't get the opportunity to do that very often. And man, this is just such an exciting time. Summer for me, for the student ministry, for my team is one of the busiest times for us because we're planning for camp. We're getting everything ready for that. Then we have camp for a couple weeks, and then we have all-nighter right after that, which is our biggest event of the year. We have 200 students registered for all-nighter right now. Come on, incredible. Yeah. If you still didn't register a student, there are not many spots left, and today's the last day to do it. So, little plug, make sure you do that before it's too late. But man, even though this is such a busy season for us, this is one of the most exciting times ever. It's so incredible what God is doing as we're coming off camp. Man, just countless stories of lives that are changed, students that are fired up for God, stepping into this new school year. We've had a few of our seniors who, after camp, have felt called to go into full-time ministry, which, man, just jacks me up. So it's been so cool. It's been so cool being able to sit down and meet with them and talk to them about some next steps, what that looks like. And man, it just gets me fired up. So if you see me just a little bit more antsy, a little bit more excited, because I'm just so excited for what God is doing in the student ministry. Man, so if y'all could just be praying for that there would be even more to come, especially this Friday night, as we have so many brand new students who are coming for the first time, that their hearts will be open to the message of the gospel, which is why we do what we do every single month. So we love it. But hey, man, I hope you all have been enjoying this series, Fearless. The past 2 weeks, Pastor Kenneth brought probably two messages that were my favorite messages that I've ever heard from him. They've been so moving, so good. This morning, we're going to take a little bit of a different turn this morning, because this morning is not going to be an emotional message. It's not going to be one of those heavy messages. Nobody will be crying by the end of this message. I don't think so anyways. We're not going to have an altar call, anything like that. This message is going to be 100% practical. I was talking to some people before earlier this morning, and I said, this is probably going to sound more like a TED Talk than a sermon. But for me and my coworkers here at United, if there's one thing that we geek out about, really just nerd out about, is leadership and personal development. Anybody love learning about leadership and personal development? Come on, we read all the books, all the John Maxwell books, and we are all about it. And so this morning is going to be all about just gaining some tools, figure out how we can become better in life. And I don't know for you, if you've ever met somebody that you just really look up to, somebody that's just incredibly successful in their field. Maybe it's a leader that has accomplished a lot, or maybe it's just a celebrity, somebody who's famous, somebody who has been incredibly successful. I remember back in college, I got the opportunity to meet President George W. Bush. It was a pretty cool opportunity. And unfortunately, I didn't get to sit down and really talk to him, but it was cool being able to shake his hand, to meet him. But for me, I don't know if anybody else is like me, but when I get the opportunity to sit down and talk with somebody who has accomplished a lot in their life, a successful leader, I have one question that I always want to know, that I always want to ask them, and I may frame it up a little bit different, but the question I want to know is, what were the keys that led to your success? What were some of the habits and disciplines that you had in your life early on that kind of set you apart from everybody else, that made you the person that you are today? And in the same way, on the other side of this, when I hear of an incredibly successful person or leader who had this tragic downfall all of a sudden, I want to know the question, what were the things that led to this downfall? What were the habits that they had that maybe nobody knew about that led to this downfall? Because I want to know, what is it that I need to stay away from in my life? What habits do I need to stay away from? And what habits is it that I need to make sure I have in place in my life right now that will set me up for success? These are the questions I always want to know. And recently I read an interview in Sports Illustrated that this guy did with Kobe Bryant. And this interview was coming right after Kobe made a game-winning three-pointer. And it was like one of those classic moments where the scores are tied up and it's down to the last seconds on the clock, and Kobe makes this buzzer beater that wins the game. So afterwards, of course, everybody wants to know the question, man, what does it take to become somebody with that much talent, to excel in your field like that? But not only to excel in your field, but to be able to excel even in moments when the pressure is on. When you have all that pressure on you, to still be able to excel at that level. So this guy's interviewing Kobe, and he talks about his personal practice and conditioning routines. And he says that during his downtime, he frequently will take shots from the three-point line. And he doesn't stop taking shots until he makes 400 three-pointers. And he keeps going until he hits 400. And you see, here's the thing. We're all so amazed at the one shot he makes from the three-point line, but nobody sees the 400 shots that he's made when nobody's looking. We're amazed at the one, but nobody sees what he's done in his downtime. You see, Kobe played like nobody else played because he spent his downtime doing what nobody else was doing. See, he knew that you can't just sit around, lounge around the house and wait until game day comes, but he spent his downtime with a rigorous disciplines and habits that he had on a regular basis. I recently read a book written by a Navy SEAL. And in this book, he's talking about all the extreme practices and conditioning habits that they go through on a regular basis. And he included a motto that the SEALs have. He said this. He said, "We don't rise to the occasion, we sink to the level of our training." This is true for all of us in life. We don't rise to the occasion, we sink to the level of our training. And here's the thing, I don't think there are any Navy SEALs in here this morning, but there's a statement that is true for every single person in here. And if you're taking notes, I want you to write this down this morning. That what you determine to do in your downtime will determine your destiny. What you determine to do in your downtime will determine your destiny. And I think for most people in here, we are very familiar or somewhat familiar with the story of Daniel and the lion's den. And man, I love the name of this series, Fearless, because it describes the life of Daniel so well. Because if you're gonna step into a den of lions and have unshakable confidence in God, then you have to have a faith that is fearless. But here's what you have to know about Daniel, is that Daniel did not rise to the occasion in that moment when he was in the den of lions. No, but you see, Daniel had these crucial habits that set him up to succeed in the moment where it mattered most. So that's what we're gonna talk about. We're gonna look at some of his habits. We're gonna be in the book of Daniel, chapter 6, starting verse 3. It says, "Daniel soon proved himself more capable than all the other administrators and high officers because of Daniel's great abilities. The king made plans to place him over the entire empire. Then the other administrators and high officers began searching for some fault in the way that Daniel was handling the government affairs, but they could not find anything to criticize or condemn. He was faithful, always responsible, and completely trustworthy." Man, ain't it crazy how when you start living life for God, when you start living life with some integrity, what happens is you make life very difficult for your haters, right? Have you noticed this? Like they gotta all of a sudden start becoming super creative to try and like come up with ways to get you down. They gotta like start making stuff up. That's what's happening for Daniel here. So they concluded, our only chance of finding grounds for accusing Daniel will be in the connection with the rules of his religion. So the administrators and high officers went to the king and said, "Long live King Darius. We are all in agreement. We administrators officials, high officers, advisors, and governors that the king should make a law that will be strictly enforced. Give orders that for the next 30 days, any person who prays to anyone, divine or human, except for you, your majesty, will be thrown into the den of lions. And now, your majesty, issue and sign this law so that it cannot be changed, an official law of the Medes and Persians that cannot be revoked. So King Darius signed the law. But listen to this. But when Daniel learned that the law had been signed, he went home and knelt down as usual in his upstairs room with his windows open towards Jerusalem. He prayed 3 times a day, just as he had always done, giving thanks to his God. So you see, this passage gives us a glimpse into the keys that set Daniel up for success. It said even when this law was changed, even when his life dramatically changed, he had some disciplines in his life, some habits in his life. He went, just like he always did, and prayed 3 times a day in his room. And you see, Daniel was able to have fearless confidence in the lion's den because of all the time he spent in private leaning on God, trusting in God. Here's what I want you to write down today, is that your pursuit of God in private will make you fearless for God in public. Your pursuit of God in private will make you fearless for God in public. And the thing is, every single person in here has downtime. Some people have more downtime than others, but everybody has it. And what matters most in life is how you spend this downtime. This is what makes all the difference in your life. And for Daniel, he was determined to take his downtime captive. He was determined to make the most of it. And the reality is, none of us in here are ever gonna find ourselves in a den of hungry lions. I hope not. But for every single person, we will find ourselves in seasons of life where our faith is tested, where everything out of nowhere changes, where our life changes and things all of a sudden get difficult. And the question you must ask right now is, do you have habits and disciplines in your life that are strong enough to sustain you when life gets difficult? That's the question you have to ask right now, because here's the deal, is it's too late to become fearless when you're standing in a den full of lions. It's a little late at that point. And you see, we've all prayed the prayers of panic, the prayers of desperation, right? Come on, we've all had that moment where we're driving and in our rearview mirror, we see the lights come on, right? We've all been there and prayed the prayers of panic. We're like, dear Lord God, please, God, I'll do anything. We start making deals with God, like bargaining with him, right? We're like, God, I will never speed again if you just come through for me right now in this moment. Please, God, if there's any unrepentant sin in my heart, I give it over to you. Cleanse me, God, right? Come on, would you be honest and say you've been there? You've been there. I've been there too many times than I care to admit. But here's the thing, for Daniel, when he was in the lion's den, I don't think he was frantic. I don't think he was praying prayers of desperation, prayers of panic. Because you see, Daniel already had unshakable confidence in God that was formed from his daily habits that he had in place. So when he stepped into that moment where it mattered the most, he had this confidence that he had developed through his time, through his personal discipline. And you see, whether or not you will have this fearless confidence in God when the pressure of life is on is determined by how you spend your time in private when no one is watching. You see, fearless people develop when no one's looking so they can deliver when the whole world is watching. Fearless people develop when no one's looking so they can deliver when the whole world is watching. There's this verse in the book of Luke chapter 8, and when I was a kid, this was never particularly my favorite verse. You'll see why in a minute. But this wasn't like my life verse or anything like that. Here's the verse right here. It says, "For all that is in secret will eventually be brought into the open, and everything that is concealed will be brought into the light and made known to all." So when I'm a kid, I'd read this verse, I'd be like, oh gosh, God's about to expose me. Like every time I've ever messed up, every sin I've ever done, he's gonna expose me one day, and it's gonna be bad. But you see, recently I had somebody talk about this verse to me. He said this verse that's not necessarily what it's about, but this verse is all about how we spend our downtime, how we spend our time in private. Now, if you're living life of sin and you've kind of accepted this sin in your life, then yes, probably one day it'll come out into the open. But on the other side of this is if you have habits, positive habits and disciplines set up in your life, then there's going to come a day where people look at your life and they are amazed at the blessings and the fruit that your life is producing. And they won't be able to wrap their mind around it. They won't be able to understand what's happening because what they don't see is that for years, you've been sowing seeds into your life every single day with habits that are setting you up to win in life. You see, the habits that you sow every day, these are seeds that you are sowing, and one day you'll reap the harvest of your habits. And that's what this passage is all about. And you see, one day people will see you for what your habits are. And I heard a quote one time that kind of sums this up so well. It says this: at first, you make your habits, but then eventually, your habits make you. At first, you make your habits, then eventually, your habits make you. So for Daniel, he had 3 habits that set him up for success. These were the 3 habits. If you read through the book of Daniel, some of you are following along with us, you'll see these 3 habits in his life. He had time in prayer, time in the Word, and time with positive friendships. And we're not going to dig too deep into these specific habits. And actually, when I was preparing this message, originally I was planning on spending the rest of the time just digging into these 3 habits. You know, we're going to talk about why it's so important to spend time in prayer, why it's important to spend time in the Word, to spend time with positive friendships. But then I started thinking about what it is that we actually need. And here would be my hunch, is that if you've been coming to church for really any amount of time, maybe it's been a few weeks, maybe it's been since you were a kid, you probably know that these things are important. I mean, for most of us as Christians, these are common sense. You have some kind of understanding that these habits are crucial to setting you up to succeed when it comes to your relationship with God. So I think what the issue is not that we lack the knowledge, it's not that we understand that these things are important, but what the issue is that for most of us, we lack consistency when it comes to these 3 areas. Come on, would anybody be honest in here and say that there have been times in your life where you've struggled to be consistent in one or more of these areas? Come on, I think if we're honest, we would all, if you ever tried to implement these habits in your life, there's times where we've struggled to make this consistent. So today, for the rest of our time together, is going to be incredibly practical. For the rest of our time, we're just going to talk about 3 ways to make habits stick in your life. If you've ever struggled with making habits stick in your life, which I think most of us have, then hopefully this will benefit you this morning. Can anybody benefit from learning how to make habits stick in their life? Good, I was hoping that would be the response, because if not, I don't have any other content. So this is what you're getting. But so we're gonna be talking about 3 ways to make habits stick. And if you're interested in this topic of habits, then there's this awesome book called Atomic Habits by this guy named James Clear. It's Atomic Habits if you're interested in this. And this is where a lot of the content is coming from. But I would definitely recommend checking that out. So the first way to make a habit stick in your life is make it your identity. Make it your identity. Does anybody in here currently have a list of goals, whether it be goals at work, at school, or some personal goals? You got some goals written down? Cool. Yeah, I think most of us have goals, whether it be mentally or written down somewhere. And with these goals, there's this belief that we have that if we want to be successful in any aspect of life, then we must have goals in front of us that we are striving towards. And here's the thing, don't get me wrong, goals are great, okay? It's great to have a target to aim for. But what happens is for many of us, these goals can actually do more harm than good, because we have this big, audacious goal that is so far out in the distance. And here's what I want to tell you is that one of the best ways to focus on developing your habits and accomplishing these goals is actually to not focus on the goals. But instead of focusing on the goals, focus on the person that you want to become. Focus on the person that you want to become. So I have a graphic up here. This is the 3 layers of behavior change. So you got your outer layer. Your outer layer is your outcomes. And this layer is all about changing your results. So this layer is all the goals that you have. All the goals are in this outer layer. And so it's things like losing weight, like cleaning the house, finishing that assignment. Maybe it's a numerical goal that you have at work. This is where all your goals are. And you see, achieving goals are great. It's an awesome thing when you can reach that goal, when you can check off that box. Come on, it's a great feeling to be able to check off that box. But maybe you've noticed if you've ever hit a goal that feeling doesn't last very long. And the reason why is because achieving goals will only change your life for the moment. And the problem is they don't change who you are as a person because you're only focused on achieving that goal, checking off that box. So then you get a little bit deeper into this behavior change. Then we get to process. And process is all about changing the systems that lead to your behavior. So now we're kind of moving beyond just hitting a goal, checking off the box. We're moving beyond that one-time moment, and now we're establishing some systems that will continue to set us up for success. These will lead to some more lasting behavior change in our life. And some systems, some examples of these are things like setting a new diet or a new workout plan, setting a time and a place for your personal quiet time with God, or setting up a system to budget or to save money. These are the systems that will lead to lasting change in our life. So we get to processes, and then we get even deeper to the deepest level, and this is identity. And identity is all about changing the beliefs that you have. This is about changing your self-image, your judgments about yourself and about others. So with outcomes, it's all about changing what you get. Processes are all about changing what you do, but identity is all about changing what you believe. And you see, all these layers are so important, but here's the reason why for so many people you've struggled to make your habits stick. The reason is because you try to start from the outside in. You try to start by focusing on the results that you get rather than focusing on the person that you want to become. And what I want to tell you is that this behavior change will always be a temporary thing until it becomes a part of your identity. So if you have some goals written down somewhere, I want to challenge you to look at your goals. And if you have a goal, essentially what this says is, I want to accomplish blank. But I would challenge you to look at these goals and start changing them into some identity statements. So an identity statement would say, I am the type of person who blank. I'm the type of person who reads my Bible every day. I'm the type of person who prays every day. I'm the type of person who goes to the gym 5 days a week. I am a reader. I am organized. I am great at saving money. I am a top tier athlete. I am a top tier mathlete. I don't know what it is that you want to be your identity, but I would challenge you to make a list of identity statements. What is it that you want to be known for? For that matter, what is it that you want your marriage to be known for? What is it that you want your family to be known for? Maybe you go home and you write out a list of identity statements for your family, for your marriage, but you have to sit down and figure out who it is that you want to become. And here's the deal, is that at first, maybe you're completely disorganized and your identity statement is, I am a person who is organized. This is gonna feel so untrue of you at first. But here's what happens. Every positive action that you take, you're casting a vote for the person that you want to become. And eventually, over time, you start casting more votes for that person, for that new identity, and you start to believe, this is actually who I am. This is who I am. So the first one is make it your identity. Second one is this, make it easy. Come on, anybody love things that are easy? Make it easy. Anybody here ever make a New Year's resolution? I'm just curious. Come on, some of y'all are lying right now. I know everybody in here at some point in your life have made a New Year's resolution. And do you know what the statistic is for the resolutions that are actually successful in the year? It is 8%. 8. That means 92% of resolutions fail somewhere within the year. And last year in 2018, the beginning of the year, I set some New Year's resolutions, some goals for the year. And these were my goals. The first one was I wanted to read 2 books a month. I wanted to finish 2 books a month. I wanted to save money. So I had a dollar amount of money that I wanted to save in the year. And I wanted to read through the entire Bible in a year. So I unfortunately was a part of the 92%. I didn't accomplish any of these goals. And the reason is, I know. Listen, y'all laugh, but I know you've been there too, okay? Let me look at your goals last year. How you doing? Come on, let's get real. But here's the thing. The reason why I was not successful at these goals was because I made it too difficult. I didn't make it easy. You see, if I would have committed to reading just 1 page of a book before bed every night, come on, it seems funny, but here's what happens. If I would have just read 1 page every night before bed, it would have reinforced this identity that I am the type of person who reads every single day. And eventually I start doing this and I say, man, I'm gonna read a few more pages because that's what readers do, and I'm a reader. You know, if I would have set the goal to just save $10 a week, it's not very much, but it would have casted a vote for this new identity that I'm the type of person who saves money. I'm the type of person who is disciplined in this area. If I would have set a goal to just read 1 verse every single day, it would have reinforced this identity that I am the type of person who reads the Bible every single day. And eventually, I would have stepped into this identity, begin to read more than 1 verse, and maybe actually completed this goal. But you see, for so many of us, we fail at hitting our goals because we don't make it easy. And in this book, Atomic Habits, James, he talks about the 2-minute rule. And this is what the 2-minute rule, he says, if you want to start a new habit in your life, limit yourself to doing that habit for just 2 minutes every single day. That's it, just 2 minutes. So maybe you read 3 verses every day. Maybe you limit yourself to praying for 2 minutes every day. Maybe you do 10 push-ups every day. You go for a 2-minute walk every day. You fold 3 pieces of clothes every single day, whatever it is. Yeah, you know, maybe that won't work out so well in your home. But the thing is, these may not seem like they are very effective. And if you do something for 2 minutes, it's not very effective. You're not accomplishing very much. But when you look at the science behind how habits work, it's not the quality of the habits, but it's all about the repetitions. So if you're able to get those repetitions in every single day, maybe it may not feel like you're accomplishing very much at first, but it reinforces this identity until you step into it and this habit becomes a part of who you are. He had one of his readers in this book use this method to lose 100 pounds. And so for this guy, he started going to the gym, but he limited himself to going to the gym for just 5 minutes every day. So he would drive to the gym, he would set a timer, and he would exercise for 5 minutes, and then he would leave and go home. And he did this for a few weeks until eventually he was like, well, you know what? I'm already here. I may as well stay a little bit longer. And he started staying a little bit longer and a little bit longer until he believed, man, I'm the type of person who goes to the gym every single day. And a few years go by and he ends up losing 100 pounds. You see, the reason is because he was able to commit to this habit because he made it easy. And he started to believe this is a part of who I am. I go to the gym every single day, and he mastered the art of showing up. And it ended up changing his whole life. So the first one is make it your identity, make it easy. The last one is make it satisfying. Make it satisfying. So if we were to do a tour of everybody's house in here, do like a MTV Cribs United edition. Take a tour of your house. We would find something, hopefully we'd find this in every single person's bathroom, and that thing is a tube of toothpaste, right? Hopefully we'd find that in every single bathroom. And if we were to survey everybody in this room, we would find that almost every single person brushes their teeth on a regular basis. If you don't do that on a regular, you're probably sitting by yourself right now, and you're like, why do people keep offering me gum? No, I don't want any. Jeez. But you see, this is a habit that is just so obvious. It's so common to every single person. We don't even think about it because it's something that everybody does. But here's what's crazy, is that if you look at just 100 years ago, this was not a common habit at all. This was not something that was obvious. But in fact, only 7% of homes owned a tube of toothpaste. And very few people in that time, just 100 years ago, actually brushed their teeth on a regular basis. And as you had a rise of sugary foods coming into the market, you also had a rise of cavities and decaying teeth. And it got so bad that it became a national crisis. This dental health became a national crisis. And the thing is that everybody knew that they're supposed to brush their teeth. They knew that this would prevent cavity and decay. They had the knowledge, but so few people were able to get this habit to stick in their life. And that was all until this guy, the guy who invented a brand of toothpaste called Pepsodent, added one ingredient to his toothpaste that nobody else had. This ingredient was mint. See, because at that time, toothpaste was literally just paste. It had no flavor to it. And this guy added mint to his toothpaste. So now people would wake up in the morning and they would brush their teeth and they would be left with this clean, fresh feeling in their mouth. And what happened over time was people would start to wake up in the morning and they would crave this feeling. They would crave this fresh feeling. So they would instantly, like subconsciously do this every single day. So you went from a very, very few people in America brushing their teeth to almost every single person brushing their teeth, all because one person decided to make this habit more satisfying. And you see, the thing is, we can try to conjure up motivation to help us succeed with our habits, but the thing about motivation is so temporary. It only lasts for as long as your motivation lasts, but if your habits are not satisfying, they will never last for long. Because here's why. I don't know if you realize this about human nature, but we are hardwired to want instant gratification for everything that we do. We're hardwired, but as most of you know, the things that benefit us most in life are actually things that have delayed gratification. So that's where we find the struggle. You know, maybe you've tried waking up early and reading your Bible, spending time in prayer. Come on, can we just be honest that I'm sure every single person, unless you're way more spiritual than me, you've had moments where you're like, man, I don't know that I feel any different after reading the Bible. I felt like I was praying and just like talking to the ceiling. Come on, can we be honest and say that we've all been there before? Maybe you chose that salad over the burger and fries, and the thing is, you probably didn't lose much weight just for switching out that one meal. Maybe you went to the gym one time, and you probably didn't put on much muscle just from going to the gym one time. And here's why. Here's the thing that's so interesting about habits is that bad habits have instant gratification, but delayed consequences. They're easy. That's why they're easy. But good habits have instant consequences. The taste of vegetables compared to the taste of a burger, consequence. And delayed gratification. And see, for so many people, they are unsuccessful at implementing new habits in their life because we try so hard to fight against human nature. And we say, man, I just got to get more motivation and just push my way through it. But if you want habits to last for the long haul, instead of fighting against human nature, one of the keys is actually to add some instant gratification to whatever that habit is. See, I've been able to implement this principle when it comes to my quiet time with God. So for me, I rarely miss my quiet time with God in the morning. And before you start thinking, oh, look at you, you're so much more spiritual than all of us, the reason is not a spiritual thing at all. Here's what's helped me so much is I love coffee. And I wake up in the morning and I crave a cup of coffee. Anybody just wake up craving coffee? Come on. So something that I've done, and I didn't even think about it at the time, but when I drink my cup of coffee in the morning, I do it during my quiet time with God. So you see, by pairing this positive habit of a quiet time with God with something that I naturally crave, a cup of coffee, I've been able to add some instant gratification. So every single morning, all I can think about is that cup of coffee and also my quiet time with God that comes along with that. So for you, maybe you've struggled to exercise, to stay in shape. Maybe think about add a smoothie to your end of your workout, whatever it is that would add some instant gratification. Maybe you struggle to stay consistent with your quiet time with God, but you drink a cup of coffee every morning on the way to work. Maybe drink that cup of coffee at home and do it during your quiet time with God. And what will happen is you'll begin to crave this habit every single day, and before long, it'll change the life that you live. So make it a part of your identity, make it easy, and make it satisfying. For all that is secret will eventually be brought into the open, and everything that is concealed will be brought into the light and made known to all. Another way to say this is this: every single habit that you have in your life that nobody sees, one day is what you'll be known for. One day you'll be known for those things. So I would challenge you today to spend some time and think about who is it that you want to be known for? When you're 70 years old and people talk about your life, what do you want to be known for? Maybe write out some identity statements. What is it you want your marriage to be known for? What do you want your family to be known for? Come on, I would challenge you to start here and to use these tools, use these principles to implement some habits into your life and to begin to step into this new identity. Come on, let's pray this morning. Jesus, we're so grateful, Lord, that your desire and your goal for us is to live the best life possible. God, to have, just like Daniel had, to have habits and disciplines in our life that set us up for success so that we don't get to the moment where all the pressure's on and try to become fearless in that moment. But God, I pray that you would allow us to have the courage to make some changes in our life today that will set us up for success. God, I pray that you would help us with that. Pray this in Jesus' name.